We'll start off with the Atlanta Pop Festival. It was just a couple of years ago, of course. I mean,
Yeah.
that was such a big deal. It was such an incredible festival that got put on, and some amazing acts were on that bill, along with Grand Funk Railroad. Now, that was a huge thing for you guys at the time, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. It's like we didn't have a record deal. Nobody had ever heard the words that you had just mentioned. And the guy who brought us on, the MC for those 3 days, he had 3 days, Brother Paul, and he never got it right
Oh
in
no.
3 days, three times. I'm thinking there was a lot of drugs going around there at that festival, and maybe just being among that. Those people there, it was rubbing off on him. He would say Grand Frank Railway or something. I mean, he would never said it right. Uh, but we made sure that by the third day, they knew who Grand Funk was.
Absolutely, absolutely, and everybody did. I mean, you kind of just burst onto the scene, didn't you, at that stage? And what you were doing as well at that time, it was different. It was raw. It was noisy. It was loud and exuberant. I mean, what was it that made that kind of music come together for you guys? Because you were only a three piece at this stage. So what was it that drove that kind of music from you guys?
Well, I worked at West Amplifiers,
Okay.
which was the amplifiers that we used on stage. And Dave West, God rest his soul, he he put together this amplifier, and he was looking at the schematics one day, and he said, "Holy shit! I I found out what I did wrong." And I said, "What are you talking wrong, man? These things sound great." He says, "I wired this wire is backwards in this Dynacode." He was following because he was trying to reproduce something and then add some of his own electronics to it. And I said, "Man, don't touch that thing. You can fix all the rest of them, but don't fix mine." He said, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, man, for guitar, it's perfect." And Mel, he liked this bass turned to 11, and that's where he got his sound. But that was what helped us appear that day, because in spite of on the way to Atlanta, driving down there with a U-Haul trailer behind the van and rolling it down through the ditch. It came off. All the equipment was, some of the transformers were ripped completely loose from the chassis. When we got to Atlanta, all of the other roadies for the other bands saw that we were in a pickle. So they jumped in there, and there must have been 12 different roadies putting our stuff up on the stage and soldering wires together, wire ties and wire nuts and duct tape. The transformers sat on top of the cabinets, duct taped to the cabinets,
Wow.
just so they could make the length of the wire work for them. Oh, it was something else. But for some reason, man, 110 degrees in the shade in Atlanta, Georgia, they were working fine that day. Yeah. And that helped us come on, big and loud.
Absolutely phenomenal to see everything pull together and get you guys on the map like that. It's incredible. I mean, just talking about that festival, there was some other incredible acts on there, Janis Joplin and Joe Cocker and Creedence Clearwater Revival. I mean, the names just roll
Yes.
off the tongue. I mean, did you get to mix backstage with these sorts of people?
No.
No. That
we
was
were
a shame.
we were scared shitless, brother. We were just, like, these guys were all superstars. We were just a garage band, 20 years old, from Flint, Michigan. Mel was 19.
Mhm.
The bass player was 19, and the drummer and myself were both 20.
Another
Yeah.
big thing to touch on is Shea Stadium. I mean, for us in the UK, it's synonymous with the Beatles, but you guys, the Grand Funk Railroad, you guys sold it out quicker than the Beatles, quicker than the Fab Four. I mean, what's your
That's right.
memories of that experience?
Well, the memories are flying over the stadium in a helicopter and watching it, Paul. Physically, it's flexing. The fans have got this thing rocking. Humble Pie's on stage,
Yeah.
which was set up at second base, and Shea Stadium was like a half circle. It focused right on second base, so every voice in that stadium, 55,000 people, when they hollered, it came right to your ears. And wow, as I'm telling you this, I'm getting goosebumps right now. Every time I that recall that, I hash it over in my mind, that memory just overwhelms me. Yeah. Wow. A lot of love. Man,
Yeah,
a lot of love.
I bet. I bet. And what was it like being on the stage? Because I remember the Beatles said that they could hardly hear themselves, let alone anything else. So what was it like for you guys?
Well, for us, we had a PA system. We had a hell of a PA system, and the fans could hear the drums, the bass, the guitar. I mean, we had a massive PA system, and the communication between the audience and the band was on. And I am fueled by the emotional waves that hit the stage from the audience. They push you to greater heights than you could ever achieve on your own. So that love, man, that love was just lifting me up, and I it felt like I was 3 feet above the deck the whole show, just floating around up there.
Phenomenal. And you mentioned Humble Pie there. I'm a huge fan of Steve Marriott. I mean, him, even with the small faces, was an incredible character,
Yeah,
fantastic frontman. I mean, you toured with them in Europe, didn't you? So was it you guys that said, "Hey, come and play America with us"?
that's right. And they listened to they had a big boom box that they would plug in their dressing room, and we could hear them over there rocking to all the R&B and all the Motown stuff that we heard. That's what we were raised on in Detroit and in Flint, Michigan, because CKLW in Windsor, Ontario, that was it was like a 50,000 watt AM station. And back then, Paul, all that music was played on AM. FM kind of came on the scene in 1970 and 71. It just kind of merged as uh, a medium to play music. And when they first came on, the DJs, you could hear them up there going, and they would play "I'm Your Captain," all these other cuts. And later on in life, as I've been going to radio stations, doing interviews, and shaking howdy, thanking them for playing my music, they would say, "Mark, thank you for 'I'm Your Captain,' because if we had to take a dump, or we had to get a coffee or smoke a cigarette or get a sandwich, we could get it all done during that song."
Oh, I love it.